Do you remember this? 5 months ago, President Trump stunned the world when in the middle of the night he sent our troops to Venezuela to capture Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro. The first look we got of the newly seized president was several hours later, his shocking perp walk in New York City. This was a sight many Venezuelans seeking a democracy thought would never happen. In the last several months, the Trump administration has been working with acting president and former vice president under Maduro, Delcy Rodriguez. Venezuela's government has opened up its oil industry to the United States, and on Wednesday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said this.
Since January 3rd of this year, okay, and I think this number's right, but I think over 10 million barrels of Venezuelan oil have been delivered to the United States since the 3rd of January. That industry is being professionalized for the first time ever. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. They are selling oil in the market at market rates. The money's going to an account in the United States, controlled and monitored by Treasury, audited by KPMG, and it's for the first time ever the money's not being stolen. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people.
But it's not clear who will lead Venezuela into what America hopes is a new relationship between the two countries. Leader of the Venezuelan Democratic Movement and Nobel Peace Prize winner Corina Machado joins me. Nice to see you.
Great to see you in person.
In person,
Great.
Yes, indeed. We've spoken before. Secretary of State Rubio just talked about some contracts that are being set to deal with oil between the United States and Venezuela. Just to get it clear, in the event you become president, what about those contracts? Will you honor those contracts?
Well, we've been very clear about that. We will certainly not only respect the terms of legally signed contracts, but we will even improve conditions. So there would be those investors that are seeking long-term relationship with Venezuela that will come to us asking to adapt previous conditions to the new terms. So it's important that everybody be clear and secure that we will maintain and respect that.
All right. Are you going to run for president of Venezuela?
Certainly I am.
When, though? Because I was doing a little research, and it said that you're supposed to have an election 30 days after a president leaves or is removed. Or, I mean, it was really sort of unclear. Presidency ends. And it seems to me, I mean, I don't know how it's interpreted in Venezuela, that we're well past those 30 days, and we have Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president, taking control.
Well, first of all, it's important to remember how we got here, because there was an election on July 28th, 2024, under extreme unfair conditions. And the regime did not imagine what really happened. We won by a landslide. So that's why we insisted that Nicolás Maduro was not a legitimate president. And I think that gave the ground, the legal and moral ground, to what happened on January 3rd, which we are very grateful to President Trump and Secretary Rubio. Since then, Secretary Rubio has stated a three-phase plan, which is stabilization, recovery, and transition. So free and fair elections are in the U.S. government plan in the third stage. It's not clear, though, the dates, and what we insist is that Venezuelan people are suffering, are desperate to see a democratic change, and that it is important to give certainties in terms of when this process will move forward.
What's your guess when it will happen in the election? Because that's obviously important.
Well, we are seeing very important steps being taken regarding the repressive structure being dismantled. This is very important. Hundreds of political prisoners have been released, and we are seeing also for the first time in the media people speaking out about the truth of how our people are suffering and acts of corruption, something that was unthinkable. Even my name being said in a TV program would be enough to close a media outlet, to close it.
Well, you were banned from running last time, too. Venezuela banned you from running.
I won the primary process in 2023 with a 92% of the votes, and immediately Nicolás Maduro banned me from running for the elections because he knew what was going to be the result. So we found an alternate candidate. I supported him, and that's how we won with 70% of the votes 2 years ago, exactly 2 years ago. Now what we're saying is, even though we won, we want to support President Trump's plan, which involves in its third stage a new election. And we said, okay, we're willing to do that. We're supporting this plan. We want it to work smoothly. and getting to that stage in which we will have legitimacy. Once you have legitimate government, then you can really invest in creating rule of law and the sanctity of contracts and international international arbitration for private investments, and also the return of our people. Almost 9 million Venezuelans had been forced to flee. It's a third of our population. It's a huge diaspora.
Which is, a lot of them have come here, which has been a controversy. A lot of them because they're not desperate. The economy in Venezuela has just been, I mean, the inflation rate, I know that ours is 3.8, and what is yours in Venezuela now?
Over 650%.
Which so that
it's the largest in the world. The largest in the world.
Largest in the world. You work for a month and maybe you can buy a loaf of bread.
A teacher earns $1 a day. And that's why our children go only twice a week to school. Public school works twice a week because teachers need to get something else. They have to do something else in order to survive. So this is not sustainable. And this is growing. And what we need to channel this desperation is in a civic, orderly path so that Venezuelan people know that things are going to change, that we have the support of the international community, and something very important, which I mentioned before. You mentioned Venezuelan people here in the States. It's over 1 million Venezuelans. They were asked in a recent poll if they wanted to go back, and 65% of the Venezuelans in the U.S. said they would immediately go back after a democratic transition.
See, that was what I was going to ask, because I imagine, I mean, the people came here out of desperation because they wanted to feed their children and because it was just impossible in Venezuela. And people like their homes. And so that I was sort of curious whether or not you thought that a good portion of the people here, if there's a democratic government and an improved economy, you have so many resources. You have more petroleum resources than Saudi Arabia. I mean, there's so much to be had there.
But in order to have that, all that potential and resources being translated into wealth, you need people. You need talented people. We need the Venezuelans who left come back. And they will only do it, as you say, if they have the certainty that we will have justice, we will have freedom, we will have dignity.
What does the vice president, now the acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, what's your relationship with her?
I've never talked to her. I don't know her.
And what's her story?
Well, she was the person in charge of the relationship with China, Tehran, and Russia. She was the main liaison with her illegal groups, transnational illegal groups, and as vice president of Nicolás Maduro, she was the person in charge of the torture and repression system.
So I take it she doesn't want an election.
But of course she doesn't want an election, and she doesn't want to release the political prisoners, but she's doing what President Trump is telling her to do. So that's, these very important steps that we're seeing taking place right now in Venezuela that were unthinkable 5 months ago. It's because she knows there's a credible threat. Now, how can we move ahead? Because, look, we have the opportunity to turn the criminal hub of the Americas, which is Venezuela, into the energy hub of this continent and into the strongest ally in energy, in security, in trade, in business, and democracy with the United States.
Security is particularly important because I don't know if many people pay much attention, but Hezbollah has a foothold in northern Venezuela. I mean, Hezbollah, which we read so much about in the Middle East, the Lebanese Hezbollah, they're in Venezuela too.
And they have received, many of them, Venezuelan passports and IDs to move around the world. Over 10,000 Venezuelan passports are believed to be given to irregular agents of Islamistic groups that certainly work in Venezuela. In Margarita Island, it's known that there is a cell of Hezbollah currently operating. But, this has been, we warned the world, Greta, for decades that this was happening. It took the vision, the courage, the decision of President Trump and Secretary of State Rubio to move ahead. Now we have a huge opportunity, a country that is united. Venezuela is not like Iraq or Afghanistan in terms of the fragmentation of societies when regime change took place there. This is a different situation. This is a country that has the same religion, the same beliefs, that there are no racial fractures or regional fractures or even social or political. I mean, 80% of the population wants the same. We have a democratic culture, and we are organized. And our main hope, desire, long is to bring our children back home. This has turned into a spiritual struggle, and that's why we will prevail.
Well, good luck with that. And I went to Venezuela in the 80s. It was beautiful when I was there, and I'm sure it'd be beautiful. I'd like to go again. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
People think news just happens. It doesn't. It happens because there's someone there to capture the moment, to explain it and share it. That's my job. I go where news breaks and give you the facts. Join me for The Record on Newsmax.